opinions about other parties are much more likely to participate in politics than anyone else. And of course, they are also more likely to be heard by politicians and to have an impact on public policy. So what can be done? And there were a lot of really good recommendations made here today, but I'll add some of mine. I mean, and let me just say that if I haven't been clear enough about the importance of this problem, let me say it directly. I think we are in great peril if we ignore the health of our democracy. And I think we have to look at solutions, and there are bilateral solutions. Both we have to alter our political system, as well as to encourage the engagement of all people in our government, in civic life, and in politics, starting with youth and adults as well. Of course, I know, I was there, changing the federal system is a daunting task. But significant change is achievable at the local level. And we have to strive for an inclusive democracy that reflects all of us, and to invest in leadership and ways to encourage all people to find solutions to the issues that they themselves care about. Government officials need to be transparent and they have to believe in the agency of the community, and they have to redouble their efforts to involve those who have been uninvolved. Too often, we go to the regular people, the people who are representatives of different groups, to involve them. And I think there have to be more efforts to bring other people in. Having 3 minutes before a meeting to testify is not enough. They have to reestablish connections between the people and their public institutions. Governments really should experiment with ways to bring people into the table so that they feel like they have a shared responsibility for policy decisions. And apropos to what's been discussed, we need to look at how the lack of civic education has contributed to this problem, and more importantly, that civic education needs to be made an integral part of the solution. 5 years ago, this is 5 years ago, Justice Souter was prescient when he spoke about the slow death of civic education in this country and the threat that it entails. He said, and this is a quote, "Democracy cannot survive too much ignorance. What I worry about is that when problems are not addressed, people will not know who is responsible. And when problems get bad enough, some one person will come forward and say, 'Give me total power and I will solve the problem.' That is how the Roman Republic fell. That is the way democracy dies. And if something is not done to improve the level of civic knowledge," he said, "that is what you should worry about at night." Self-government requires more than voting. It requires citizens who are informed, who understand the complexity of government decision-making, and who can participate in the community and are active in the political process. These are skills that can and should be passed down through the schools. With good civic education, students are more likely to be habitual voters, more engaged in politics, more likely to work on community issues, and more willing to work together to address problems. The result of civic education will be a more prosperous, equitable, and engaged democracy. And I'm going to put in a little plug for a group that I'm on, and Louise Louise was already introduced. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor understood the threat of diminishing and uninspiring civic education. When she retired, she founded iCivics to restore civic learning through inventive and interactive resources. After I left the FEC, where I was not allowed to be on any community organizations or which was very odd, I immediately joined the board of iCivics because I saw that their work was an important path to remedy the lack of engagement by teaching how government works and what each and every student can do to make needed changes in it to get the democracy that we deserve. iCivics has reached over 10 million middle school and high school students nationwide with video games that have been played over 50 million times. The games show how government works by experiencing it, which is really important experiential learning. And students can run a campaign, or they can be president of the United States and understand all the complexities of these things. And I'm really excited, there's a game called Counties Work that is going to be renamed, in my honor, no doubt, because Santa Clara County Works.
Yes.
To show adults and students what the county does and how it's relevant to them. And due to Justice Sotomayor's efforts, she's on the board as well, games will also be translated and adapted to Spanish. So you could talk to Louise about that later. And let me just end with saying that only when we involve all people in the life of the community through mechanisms such as iCivics and the other wonderful groups that are here today, are we going to be able to regain the trust that we urgently need in our democracy. Thank you all.